This is IGN. Free me from my torment. This is your IGN review of The Strangers Chapter 3 by Carlos Morales. There was a moment while watching The Strangers 3 that I realized there really was just nothing going on under the hood. Not only in terms of this movie, but of this entire Rennie Harlin-directed trilogy. Despite comprising over 4 hours worth of story over 3 installments following the same protagonist, very little has been narratively accomplished, and no core ideas have been thematically clarified. This realization came to me during a scene where Maya, our hero played by Madeleine Petsch, witnesses the main antagonist viciously murder someone she should theoretically care about, but she has zero reaction whatsoever. No tears, no anguished screams of, "No!" or "How could you?" Just a blank stare as yet another one-note character is snuffed out in this exasperating excuse for a trilogy. At the end of Chapter 2, Maya managed to kill Pinup Girl, one of the 3 main villains. Those villains would be the strangers in question, a group of masked serial killers who like to knock on doors and chop up people with axes. Scarecrow, the leader and only male of the group, ended the last movie looking pretty upset about this turn of events. So you would think this movie would involve Maya and him speeding towards a thrilling battle to the death, right? Well, no, actually, that's not what happens at all. At the very least, it's the first novel spin this trilogy has had on the Strangers premise, but it doesn't register because the characters involved are too thin to support it. In my review of Chapter 2, I remarked that Maya had become somewhat more textured by her experiences in the first 2 films, but Chapter 3 goes out of its way to give her nothing to do. She has virtually no dialogue outside of her first and final scenes, and while Madeleine Petsch felt engaged in the middle film when she was fighting and fleeing from her tormentors, here she spends almost the entire movie with a vacant expression that's not informed by what's going on around her. It's as if everyone involved had grown tired of the whole deal after filming 3 films back-to-back. And while that's certainly understandable, it doesn't excuse the movie from being as boring to watch as it appears to have been to make. That lack of creative investment spills into every aspect of the production. New characters are introduced and promptly dispatched before we learn anything about them. Characters from the first 2 films who had obviously evil signposts over their head are revealed to be obviously evil. There are more backstory scenes showing us the origins of Scarecrow and Dollface that don't have any real bearing on the present-day events. Even the kills in this one feel marred by fatigue. If you're not going to bother getting us emotionally invested in your characters before killing them, at least make the kills appreciably gory so they can be enjoyed on a popcorn entertainment level. But this movie is weirdly low on blood despite having an absurd number of deaths. You'll find much more blood and a much better movie if you check out Sam Raimi's Send Help this weekend instead. Look, I don't like slamming movies this way. I go into every one hoping it's something I can enjoy on some level, and I am an avid fan of the horror genre, but this is the worst installment in a trilogy of movies that I sincerely have nothing substantially positive to say about. While I was expecting a movie lacking in ambition or nuance based on its predecessors, Harlan and company have turned in a finale that is bereft of urgency, tension, or even baseline thrills. The Strangers Chapter 3 may not be the worst horror movie I've seen in a theater, but it might be the laziest. The Strangers Chapter 3 is an abysmal final entry in what has become one of the worst horror trilogies in recent memory. Its one big idea doesn't get enough development to really matter, leaving this finale with a gaping hole where its narrative core is supposed to be. The most generous of viewers may want to give this series credit for being a valiant experiment in back-to-back filmmaking, but that doesn't make up for the movies being as dull and lifeless as the corpses the Strangers leave behind. The Strangers Chapter 3's IGN score? 2 out of 10. Thanks for listening to IGN. My name is Tony Jackson, and for the latest updates on The Strangers Chapter 3, visit us at IGN.com.
Spoken Layer.